And record. Hello, everybody. My name is Madison Parker. I am a member of the class of 2022, and I am an English major, and I'm here to present my thesis on women in the American dream and the Great Gatsby by Scott Fitzgerald. So we'll start with just an overview of the presentation in general and our main point. So our main point is that Fitzgerald crafts Daisy and Jordan to present his audience with obvious factors that deconstruct the American dream by displaying it as unachievable, especially for women. And so we're going to start looking at Fitzgerald's view of the American dream as the pursuit of happiness, which is in the Constitution. Then we're going to move into women and how they gained more independence in the 1920s, but still were taught marriage at the forefront of their life. They were taught to put that first. Then we're going to move into Fitzgerald's use of Daisy and Jordan to deconstruct the American dream, which is going to be broken down into looking at Daisy's unsuccessful pursuit of wealth, status, and love, and Jordan's pursuit being complicated by society's values. So Fitzgerald and the American dream, as I said, relates a lot to the constitutional right of the pursuit of happiness, as mentioned in the preamble. John Callahan actually wrote about Fitzgerald's use of the American dream in all of his works. He had a special emphasis on the Great Gatsby. But really, the American dream was the pursuit of materialistic happiness, such as wealth and social status. Love often got in the way or was ultimately sacrificed as a way of obtaining wealth and social status. So love kind of serves as what Callan stated as the contradictions Fitzgerald experienced and put into fiction to heighten the implications of the American dream on individual lives. And so love forms this contradiction, this thing that's in the way, sort of, and kind of keeps you from obtaining this true pursuit of happiness that Fitzgerald saw the American dream as. Fitzgerald saw many contradictions and flaws in the American dream, making him view it as unattainable, particularly for women, as wealth and status really relied solely on who they chose to marry and the status of their husband. So looking at women in the 1920s, women in the 1920s had a whole new pursuit of happiness or American dream that became available. They gained a taste of independence, as Mallory Boykin stated in her article, which just ran through what women in the 1920s were given, the ability to vote, the ability to drive a car, even the ability to enter the workforce, and kind of the role that had in stories like The Great Gatsby. And so Boykin also wrote about the introduction of the flapper, this rebellious spirit full of self-indulgence. Really just our independent woman first presented to us was the flapper. But despite this, we were still presented as women with images of marriage. So Boykin goes in to discuss how prestigious women like Daisy had a very fleeting stay in this rebellious life of the flapper lifestyle. And so looking specifically at this ad on the left side of the screen, it talks about how a wife and a husband and a wife is so much cuter, you know, the more she works and the harder she works. And so these are images that were presented to women at the same time that the flapper came to rise. So you were kind of shown that, you know, a flapper, that's fun, but men really want you to be in the house. And it presented this contradiction in and of itself, which Fitzgerald actually writes about using the women in our story. And so the women in The Great Gatsby, Daisy Buchanan and Jordan Baker are our main women in the novel. You can see on the right here, Daisy is the more fair-haired girl at the forefront of the photo, while Jordan is the darker-haired girl in the back image. And of course, they are with Jay Gatsby, our main character. But Fitzgerald used them to deconstruct the idolized American dream. So Fitzgerald wrote these women as a way of just furthering his opinion that the American dream was unattainable. And so he used their stories to really present that, but not only unattainable to all, but especially emphasizing how unattainable it was for women of the 1920s. So both have a key emphasis on the failure of the American dream due to love or love interest. So we'll dive deeper into that as we digest each woman. So first is Daisy. Daisy often gets the bad rep of the shallow socialite, but there's really more to her. It's about like in Shrek when he says he's an onion, you have to peel back the layers. That is our Daisy. Daisy is our onion, But at Daisy's heart, she does have a pursuit of happiness and an American dream, and that comes from wealth, social status, and love. Now, the question Fitzgerald presents, and that we can all see that the novel's whole plot is kind of built around, is are all three attainable by Daisy? Is there a way for her to get them all? And so, wealth and social status for Daisy, they really coincide. We see a lot of Daisy's wealth coming from her family in particular. They were prominent before she married Tom, but then Tom's family is even more prominently wealthy. They come from the old money, it's generational wealth, and her voice in and of itself is full of money, as Gatsby describes for us in a very telling quote in chapter 7 of the novel. So him and Nick are discussing Daisy, and they say that her voice is full of money, and this is the emphasis of her forefront and greatest desire being wealth. And a big key to why wealth is her greatest desire is because in obtaining wealth and keeping her wealthy status with her husband, Tom, Daisy also keeps what Richard Godden described as her golden girl status. So Daisy becomes the social hierarchy. She becomes the it girl, the golden girl that everyone looks to and wants to be. And so they really tie together in kind of filling two of Daisy's wants through this wealth. She is wealthy, she lives this luxurious lifestyle, and she's admired by other women, by men. So Daisy gets this status of the golden girl. But in the same quote, when Nick and Gatsby are discussing, Gatsby spits out that her voice is full of money. Nick has his own realization, and he realizes that his cousin has this strangeness because she is such a charming, idolized individual that it's strange that he can't relate to her, that she's not really got this persona of a person, but yet as a symbol, as a figure, as this status or someone you would put on a pedestal. And so Nick comes to this realization of his cousin, and it kind of sways his view. But of course, the realization is toward the novel's end, so it's never really deeply digested. Next, we have Daisy's pursuit of love in her pursuit of the American dream. And this is where your contradiction, your controversy, everything boils down to love, especially in Daisy. So Daisy is a part, of course, of the love triangle. She's married to Tom Buchanan, yet she indulges in this reckless affair with Gatsby. And Gatsby for Daisy represents this self-fulfillment, everything that she's wanted, everything that she has fought for. Taught as a young girl to aspire to marriage, represented with ideas of romantic marriage and romantic imagery, she's fighting for this love that she does have with Gatsby. Unfortunately, at the time her and Gatsby meet, Gatsby does not have the wealth. He does not have the social status that would keep her in the same status she's at. But is that love enough? Is the question that Fitzgerald really poses to everyone. And we can see as Jordan Baker recounts Daisy's wedding day to Nick in the novel, she states a lot about how on her wedding day, Daisy got a letter from Gatsby, read it, and immediately began to tell Jordan to go out and tell everyone that Daisy had changed her mind, that she was calling off the wedding, that she was not going to marry Tom, and ultimately to pursue this self-fulfillment and this love. Unfortunately, because we know she is married to Tom, she decided not to. There was a flip and a change of heart again, and she went through with the wedding, and now she is married to Tom Buchanan. Tom is this figment of the wealth and status that Daisy desires. We can acknowledge through what Gatsby says towards the novel's end. He even acknowledges that when they first met, Tom and Daisy must have had some form of love between them. But it has dwindled. We know Tom has a mistress. We know Daisy willingly indulges in this reckless affair with Gatsby. And so you can tell that love is missing and it's not there. But the most telling sign of their relationship is what Nick says as he looks in on their house and they are sharing a meal together right after a tragedy has struck Myrtle Wilson, who was Tom's mistress. And Daisy was the one who ultimately hit her with the car and killed her. But the two are sitting very still, and Nick says they weren't happy, and yet they weren't unhappy. And this shows that really the two of them in their marriage, it might not have love, but they've sacrificed this love to maintain this ideal expectation of wealth and status. To keep their status, they're fine not loving each other. They're content in their wealth. And so that's really telling for Daisy and her deconstruction of the American dream, you cannot achieve all three desires. She can't reach them all. And the two are represented in Tom and one is represented in Gatsby. And what's truly tragic is that by the time Gatsby has wealth that he could present to Daisy, she's already married to Tom. And one could beg to question, perhaps if he had come into that wealth before she married Tom, would she have gone with Gatsby anyways? But we don't know. But it's also important to draw the contrast in Tom's old money and the generational wealth and Gatsby's new money and the different status that each held. Daisy has lived in this generational wealth status. And so to say she would leave it for this new money wealth could be very tricky because we don't know that she would. But ultimately, love for Daisy is unattainable. The sacrifice comes from being unable as a woman to obtain wealth and status without a man. She cannot pursue this love and make that the forefront of her happiness because she cannot rely on just love. She has to have that wealth. She has to have that status. It's what she's been born into. It's what she's been taught, and she can't get there on her own. And so she has to rely on a man for that. And when presented with two options, she goes with the one that's the best, the most comfortable, and one that she knows the lifestyle of. But Fitzgerald displays Daisy's American dream of having too many factors involved and exemplifying human wants as being too many to find success in any pursuit of happiness. In other words, Fitzgerald is calling Americans very uncontent. He is saying that we want too many things, that we're very greedy, we always want more than we can have, and that in and of itself deconstructs the American dream. It makes it unattainable, it makes it difficult, and it doesn't make it as simple as just pursuing happiness because we feel to be happy you have to have too many things. Just as Daisy really relies on her wealth and her social status, and she'd love to have love, but it's too many. She can't have them all. She finds not a success story of her own pursuit of happiness, but contentment and wealth. To say she's happy could be wrong, but to say she's content with the wealth and the lifestyle she has and the social admiration she receives is exactly true. Daisy is content in where she is. Next is our Jordan Baker. Jordan is often kind of presented as this polar opposite to Daisy, but the two are very close to opposites, but also kind of similar. They both have this social status. They both have this golden girl ideal. However, Jordan, less than embodying the 1920s married woman, more so embodies the 1920s independence and the rise of the feminist and everything that is standing away from a man. But Fitzgerald does not give Jordan a happy ending. Jordan's pursuit of happiness revolves around golf, success, but not standing too far out from the crowd. She doesn't want to be seen as too different. So golf and success for Jordan kind of coincide the way wealth and status do. She's a professional golfer. She's done very well in tournaments, and she's rather well known. While Gatsby throws parties, people often come up and talk to her about her career as a golfer, her last tournament she played in. So we can note that she's seen this status kind of grow from her golf career, which is opposite of Daisy's being strictly from her family before and from marriage. Jordan might have had a base of a family that got her into golf and got her into this social stream, but it's her own success that continues to gain her the social admiration that Daisy has and desires as well. But ultimately, society's opinion is what plays downfall to Jordan. So Jordan likes to present this image of invisibility. She does not want to be seen. She wants to keep everyone at an arm's distance. She's very secretive. She has things about her that she does not want everyone to know. We can see this in the small ways that she lies. We learned she cheated in her first major, which really was, that tournament was the foundation of her success. And we can see little fibs she tells throughout about where she is, what she was doing. And she's keeping everyone at an arm's distance to hide something. And it kind of coincides that her success is built so high up to try to distract you from looking too close into her personal life. And a main reason for that is that there is major question about Jordan's sexual orientation and romance. At the time, it would not be acceptable for Jordan to be sexually identified as a lesbian. It would not be okay for her to pursue relationships with women in that way. So she gets this contradiction of what really would make her happy. And while Jordan never comes out and states it, we're given clues as Nick narrates the novel and tells us these stories that perhaps she does not like men. We never see this sexual identity or sexual prowess towards men. We never see a romantic interaction with men. She's even presented Nick almost on a platter as like a companion. And instead of really indulging, she kind of brings him in only as this disguise, this thing to keep everyone away and keep them from asking questions. So Jordan pursues this blending with Daisy and other women. She wants to blend in with them. She doesn't want to look too different from them. And it's all to keep her own identity hidden because society would not accept who she truly is. So in that way, Jordan deconstructs the American dream because despite embodying a woman in her independence given in the 1920s, societal ideals complicate her pursuit of happiness and independence. Her success and her wealth are at a limited range because she has no man to give her more. She's allowed to be successful in golf. She's allowed to obtain wealth and social status from golf, but it will never reach to that of a man. And without a man, it will never go past the bar set for women. Fitzgerald shows how society's role further complicates individuals' American dream by limiting what was achievable, especially for women. It limits what they can even pursue, what they can get. And so society kind of complicates women in pursuing their American dream. And social ideals also interwork to counteract the pursuit of happiness for certain groups. Jordan, as a representation of the LGBT community, does show that at the time, social ideals would not allow them to reach a full American dream or a full pursuit of happiness because it would not accept who they are as an individual. And so that was the presentation. The works cited is listed here. And this is my contact information. If you have any questions or just any comments, I appreciate you guys tuning in to watch me today, to view my presentation, and to all of those that helped, gave input, gave feedback. I appreciate that as well. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.